International Student Forum, where we get the opportunity to listen to the experiences of international students studying outside of their home country, share their experiences with us. My name is Rich Moninti, and I'm your host. My pronouns are he, him, his. So many students go through a plethora of distress regarding moving away from home to study abroad, and also the challenges they would have to face. Well, joining us today to discuss how his experience has been as an international student studying at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, is Chibor Messiah Chibor. Chibor Messiah Chibor is a graduate student studying Student Affairs Administration and Higher Education at UNC, Greensboro, at North Carolina in the United States of America. He's also the graduate assistant at the Registrar's Office, and he is from Nigeria. Mr. Chibor Messiah, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Richmond, for having me here. I appreciate it greatly. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. Just as he said, I'm Chibor Messiah Chibor, and I'm a student here at UNCG, that's UNC Greensboro, and also I also work at the Office of the Registrar where I do my graduate assistantship. I use he, him, his as pronouns, just as he also said.
Okay. I'm excited to have you share your experience with myself and my audience. So let's jump straight into my first question. Mr. Chibor, what informed your decision to travel all the way from Nigeria to the USA to study?
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity and for having me here. And to all our listeners or those of you who may be privileged to watch this video, I will share a few of my experience as an international student, studying here in the US. First, what informed my decision as a person? When growing up, I've always wanted to have some kind of diverse experience when it comes to my own education, and that cut across different culture. I remember when I was in school, I had uh, my the early stage of my education in my own home state back then in Nigeria. I'm from the southern part of Nigeria, and then during my university days, I have to travel far to another part of Nigeria. That's the southwestern part of Nigeria where I had my university. That's my first degree.
Okay.
And then I actually wanted to, further my studies, and then to also um, have experience of other places just as to blend it with our own educational system. So I was also privileged to be in Benin, where I also run some program in Benin before even moving over here to study in the US. So what informed my personal decision is my ability to understand other people's culture, and also to some kind of learn new things, because when you travel, when you leave your particular place and go to another place, probably for education, you would learn not just the culture of those group of people, but you also gain one or two things added to your own educational value that you have actually gained from your own country. And then of course, that the schools here in the US is also regarded as prestigious, in the sense that their own pattern of education is quite different from where we all came from. And then, of course, that's also is one of the reasons why I decided to come school here, because I know that studying here will give me an upper hand, will give me some kind of opportunities, will grant me some kind of access to some kind of things that I needed to do if I decide to go back home.
Okay, very good, very good. I like the parts that you talked about, you had to go to Benin to, have your education also there. That's interesting. So how did you get to know about UNC Greensboro?
Okay, so before coming over here, I was already working in Benin Republic. After my studies, I started working in Benin. I served as an assistant lecturer and one time as an assistant registrar in our institution back there in Benin Republic. And while I was working, a friend of mine who schooled here at USCG saw my enthusiasm, saw how passionate I was when it comes to students, and wanting the holistic success of students, And then, because it has always been my own part to play my role as a guardian, as an advisor,
Okay.
to support students, direct them to some kind of resources that they need in order for them to become successful in their educational journey. So that my friend told me that, hey, I got a school that, they have a program designed for this, and I know you do great with that very program. I said, okay, that's fine. Everything looks okay. So she sent me the website. I looked through the website. I discovered that the program is actually what I actually wanted when it
Okay.
comes to advancing in my own area of specialization. So I decided to um, do my own preliminary research by going through the websites
Okay.
and checking the
Okay.
program, I checked their requirements and then the courses that I'm supposed to be taking if I'm accepted in that program, some of those things. I did those preliminary research,
Right. Right.
as I was introduced to the school through that my very friend.
Oh, okay. 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 So how was the admission process like? Because I know, as an international student myself, you have to go through so many processes before you can get the visa to, travel all the way to the US. So how was it like?
Mhm. Yeah, unlike back home where like in my own country, you just pick up jam, write your jam, pass your
Right.
jam, go write
Right.
the postme, and then when you're accepted into the school, all you
Right.
need to do is to pay acceptance fee, and then boom, you're already a student. Okay, unlike that, for us, international students, is not so easy for us. Okay,
Okay.
the first year, I actually applied the first year, but I couldn't meet up all the requirements, that was meant before the deadline. So I wasn't accepted the first year, same program, same school. But last year I took the initiative. I was able to gather all my documents on time. I was able to turn in my applications on time, my recommendation letter. Now, this is what you need to do. First, you need to, if it's school that you pay you pay application fee, that
Right.
means you have to keep some certain amount.
Okay.
You have to keep it aside. Like
Okay.
my program they accept a particular amount, that's about $67 as application fee. So
Okay.
you
Wait,
keep
do
that money.
you so sorry to cut you. So you have to pay that money to the school before you come.
No, you have to pay before you even apply for this. You have to pay the application fee.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I was able to pay my application fee. Then I was able to create a portal, my application portal, where I
Okay.
submitted all my documents such as my personal statement,
Okay.
and then my resume, that's my CV. I submitted my CV, and then I had to um, put in some information about my three recommendations.
Right.
My program accepts three recommendations, and then
Okay.
one was from my supervisor. Two, two other letters were from my previous professors while I was a student, and of course, the head of department in my own program back then at Bowen University, where I had my undergraduate, was part of those people who wrote my recommendation. Dr. Paul. Wala, who happens to be the dean of legal studies and security management in the university where I work, who happens
Okay.
to be my direct supervisor, also wrote the recommendation. Professor Jordan Yinaya, who happens to be my academic mentor, wrote my recommendation. So I
Okay.
gathered all of these documents, even though uh, um, they were not supposed to give me the documents, but I had opportunity to let them know the kind of program I'm applying. So I gave them what it looks like, the kind of program I'm applying, some basic documents or some basic information about my program, so that they will be well informed when writing the letter of recommendation. So after the letter of recommendation, they submitted that, and then I fill in all my stuff, my transcript. I was able to submit my unofficial transcript at the initial, and then after submitting my unofficial transcript, I was able to evaluate my transcript using WASI. That's the international body that is here in the US that
Okay.
evaluates people's transcripts. That's Spectrum. So I was
Okay.
able to send in my application, my transcript through my school, because it
Okay.
was official. They accept only official transcript. So
Right.
I forwarded their email address to my school, Bowen University, and then the exams and record office in my school now forwarded my official transcript to that independent body, which of course they were able to do course by course evaluation, because my school has said course by course evaluation to determine if my degree is equivalent to degree here in the US. And of course, at the end, it came out successfully because it was equivalent, not just equivalent. I had same grades that I'm supposed to have as a student here in the US. So those are And then I was moved to admission specialist. So when you submit your application, and an admission specialist will be the one who will review your admission process. So your admission specialist will work with you. And then after working with you, the admission specialist will ensure that all your documents are in order before moving your application to the program, the department, your department. Like my admission specialist worked with me greatly to ensure that every document that I need, or every document that is outlined in my program website, I've been able to gather those documents before moving my application to my department to be reviewed by the admission committee in my own department. So there are so many layers to the process of applying for school here in the US. So you just have to make sure that you have all your documents ready. And then if it is school that has set application fee, you have to keep it, set aside that very application fee. And then
Okay.
also make sure that you have credible recommendations. Then
Okay.
your recommenders must be people who know you very well, who can attest very well. And then you don't just go give anybody to write your recommendation. There must be people who have had you have had some kind of relationship with, whether it is personal, workplace, or some kind of academic relationship, but it must not be family members, because they do not accept recommendation from immediate family or family members. So that is how my process went. I worked with my admission specialist, who moved my application when she was satisfied that I have met all the requirements. So she moved my application down to my department, and then that was another session of on its own. Then when my department was reviewing my own application, I was also assigned to someone who among all others, the admission committee in my department, have to look into my own work to see if it meets up the demand that they are looking for in our department. Because the admission specialist is just graduate admission specialist, so they don't know most of the things that each department wants. So all they need
Okay.
to do is to ensure that you have all the documents. As a graduate student, you have all the documents necessary before moving it to the department. So the department have to review it again to ensure that everything works in order. Like when I was writing my own personal statement, I have to look into my own department, what my department expects me to have, when writing my own personal statement. So I was
Okay.
able to craft my personal statement in line with some of those basic things that my department require when it comes to personal statement. So these are some of the things that was put in place. And then when I was moved to my department, then my department scheduled what they call Spark Weekend. Spark Weekend is a weekend where the faculty, the current students, and the potential students meet over either on Zoom or in person. Like this year, we had it in person, but since COVID until last year, it has always been on Zoom. So I attended that of last year on Zoom. But this year, the incoming student that will be coming this fall, they were here with us last weekend. But for some students who couldn't make it, that's international students who couldn't come for Spark, so they joined over Zoom. But the other students within here in the US, they all came over here. So that's the process. The Spark Weekend is another essential factor in my own program. I don't know for other programs, but I'm talking about my program. Is
Okay.
essential in my own program because you must attend the program, and then during that program, there are several layers to that week. That very week, there will be workshop, there will be seminars, and then there will be interview. That admission interview that will be conducted by the faculty. A faculty member will interview you to know, of course, ask you some certain questions to see if you really you are really fit for that very program. And
Mm.
again, of course, our own too. You also have interview from the GAs that you have applied. So that's also the weekend where some of the employers will also interview the intended student who wants to work with them for their own graduate assistantship. So these are some of the layers. So
Mm.
after the process, the next message you're going to get is either you have been accepted or you are placed on a wait list. Now, these are the
Okay.
two: either accepted or placed on a wait
Mm.
list, or you are not accepted. So, if you are placed on a wait list, that means you have the potential to become a student when there is vacant. And that vacant simply means somebody that was accepted, if that person is denied or that person didn't accept it, they said, okay, I'm not coming back anymore. So the school will not want to lose every other person. They will now begin to look into those people they placed on the wait list and then begin to recruit some of them and send them an offer later. So these are some of the layout that is
Wow.
involved in this admission process here.
Wow. 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 That's a long process, you know. That's a
Oh
long process.
yes,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yes, that's a long
Coming to
process.
the US to study is not an easy thing. It's not an easy
No,
thing. So now
it's never an easy thing.
you've gained the admission, you know.
Mhm.
Now you're in the US. So can you walk us through your first month of being in the US? Was it what you expected?
Okay, so but I didn't give you an overview of my visa process, you know.
Okay,
So
okay,
yeah,
okay,
that's another layout on its own. You know, when you have gotten the admission, you are excited. I've been admitted into one of the best schools in the US. That kind of excitement, but you never knew that you have other mountains that you need to climb. You know, the visa process is another mountain on its own that you need to climb, you know, but
okay,
it's so exciting when you are confident about yourself, you know. So the process, I was able to join some mock sessions. I
okay.
encourage people to join mock session. You don't just assume that you know it all.
Right,
You don't
right.
assume that you have all the knowledge. All you need to do is to join one or two mock sessions. Have a preliminary understanding of some certain things that they ask during, because there you may see people who once went for interview, maybe they were denied, or you could also see some people who went there and they were accepted. So they share their experience. So from there, you should be able to have some kind of preliminary understanding of some certain questions that will be asked during the interview. Like during my own session, I attended several mock sessions. I attended mock session over Zoom in
Okay,
Nigeria and even in Ghana. You know, I
okay.
had sessions where I attended different mock sessions for over a month. So I was,
Hmm.
you know, I served as both VO. I also served as somebody who does an applicant who is applying for visa. So when it was my own day, I was already confident about what the things that I need to say because I already have my transcript. So when I went to the embassy, my interview didn't last up to 3 minutes. The question the woman just asked me was, "Why this program?" So I told her the reason why I want to study the
So
program,
the
and then
woman as in the consular, right?
yes, the
Okay,
consular.
all right,
Yes.
all right,
So
all
she
right.
asked me, yes, the consular asked me, hey, why do you want to study this course? I told her the reason why I want to study the course, you know, I've been working in higher ed and I discovered that there's need for me to support students more. And this very program will provide me with the tools, will provide me with some harmful tools that will enhance my performance when it comes to assisting students, you know, wanting students to become more successful in school. And then she was like, okay, everything looks good. And then she asked me the next question was, how am I going to fund my education? I told her, that, hey, my department, you know, has offered me a short scholarship. And then I'm also working at the office of the registrar that comes with a monthly stipend, and that will take care of most of my. And then she was like, okay, so what's your plan after your studies? I told her that, hey, after my studies, I'm definitely going to come back to come or you know assume a higher role in my current place of work. And she said everything looks good, and so I'm approving your visa. And of course, nobody always hear the last word they say because, yeah, the excitement is always
Yeah,
there, you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that was how it was. And after that, I had just 2 weeks to book my flights, and
Hmm.
I began to look into different airlines, and I was able to book my flights. My flight left Lagos and then got to my first flight left Lagos to Washington D.C. and then from Washington D.C. I had to my second flight was supposed to move to New York, but I missed my second flight because of immigration, you know, trying to border crossing and all the rest of it. So, but my airline have to move me instead of going through New York. So I was able to move from Washington D.C. down to Raleigh here in North Carolina. So when I got to Raleigh, my friend was already there to pick me up. Now that is it. So I came in during summer. The weather was okay, everything was okay. But the challenge, knowing fully well that one of the challenges I had was the jet lag and then the differences in the time zone. So like when I used to sleep in Benin, you know, here it's still daytime, and I find it very difficult. The
Yeah,
first week I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
yeah, during daytime I was sleeping, you know. So that is it. And then my interaction with others was a little bit wasn't you know, something like you just came into another culture and
Okay.
then you are trying to look around to see if you could blend in such kind of place. So I had a struggle even in my classes for the first few months, but after a while, I was now acclimatized and adapt to the new environment through the support system that I have from my cohort members and from my own African community here in USC Greensboro, and also my Nigeria community. They are very supportive because the guy that came to pick me happens to be a Nigerian.
Okay, okay, okay. I like the community, because sometimes when you move from your home country to a different country, there's that kind of depression, loneliness, you miss family. So my next question is, what do you do for fun? When
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Of course, there you don't expect that as you come here, every time you'll be playing, you'll
right,
be working.
right,
There's
right.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Your professors will ensure that you read. They don't want to give you a little space, and you have your 20 hours job in school. You
Mhm,
have plenty of assignments,
mhm.
but despite all of that, we still find time. I still find time to go for bowling.
Okay.
I enjoy bowling so much. I find time to do some work, so I find time to go to the gym, that's more. And then above all, I also find time to cook. Cooking happens to be one of the things that I do without stress. I love cooking. I love
Wow.
making new recipes with African recipes or continental recipes. So I love cooking. So these are some of the things that I do, during my spare time. But note that yes, you do not have a lot of spare time, but the little spare time you have, we try to make use of it very well. So
Nice,
that's it.
nice, nice, nice. You talked about the difference in weather. I remember when I got here at first, it was in the summer, and then it was around 6 o'clock, but the sun was still up. I was like, why is the sun still up? It's six. Then a friend of mine that I was working with told me that is how it is. So let's look at, what do you think, in your own opinion, right?
Mhm,
Is a
mhm,
difference between studying in the US and studying in your home country, as in Nigeria. Is it worth
mhm.
coming to study, traveling all the way from Africa to come to the US to study?
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. If you look at some of the what they call it, some of the statements that um, um, we used to read.
Yeah,
There's something we call um, the Ivory League schools, the
right.
prestigious schools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The well-renowned schools and all the rest of it. Yeah, I do not. I'm not here to dispute the fact that we do not have good educational system in our countries in Africa. We do have credible people. We do have good hands, but the kind of policies that has bereft our educational system is one of the things that is making our educational system to look awkward and to look obsolete.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a little bit um, uh, problematic when it comes to the kind of structure in our educational system, because our educational system, like in my own country, of course, we know that the ASU strike and some other stuff, they are factors that bereft our educational system,
Mm,
and our educational system is more like theoretical and not practical based, and that's one of the major challenges that has actually made some of our graduates, who come over here. Some of them are doing great, while some are finding it a little bit uh, challenging when trying to meet up with their contemporaries. Then, for instance, you're a medical doctor, you do not have access to some kind of facilities, back home. But when you come here as a student studying medicine, you are seeing some kind of facilities that you have never seen back home.
right.
So these are some of the things that, as an engineering student, you only read about some kind of machines while you are studying, but you have never seen those machines in reality. And when you come to a place where you are not seeing the machines in reality, you do not have you probably do not know how to operate it in the physical sense. But
Right.
you have the theoretical knowledge, but you do not have the practical knowledge. These are some of the challenges that bereft our educational system. But however it is, our educational system has a grant because it makes us feel like, okay, you are confident. Like when we're in class and I'm discussing with my cohort members, they see the logicality in my speech and my thought process. Why? Because I've already gained that foundational level. Our educational system, despite how tough it is, it has given us the opportunity to kind of balance it up whenever we come over here. But of course, when the education system here is more interactive. Like in my class, everybody must talk. You just have to talk, whether what you're saying does make sense or doesn't make sense.
Right.
Everybody is
Right.
just eager to listen to you and all the rest of it. But back home, everyone can just sit down and the professor will talk and talk and talk and talk, and then at the end, and then the professor can go back home after talking, and everybody will pack up their things and go. But that doesn't mean that we are not grasping what is being said in
Right.
class,
Right.
even when we are not talking back home. So, but
Right.
here they want you to communicate. There should be a feedback. So when preparing to come over here to study, so just build that self-confidence in you. You must have the ability to talk. If you're a sharp person, you must do away with shyness and
Mhm.
begin to interact with people. These are some of the things, the cultural shock that you may experience whenever you come over here. These are some of the things that you may experience in classroom, but that doesn't mean that um you're not grabbing anything. Like here, what I do is that I meet my professor sometimes. I say, hey, I'm not from here, so you don't expect me to be talking every time. And then, of course, and then some of my professors they will be laughing. So you don't expect me to be talking every time. But whenever I want to talk, I will talk about something that I know that is very coherent. And then, of course, my professors know very well, and they have been supportive. And that's one of the things I love so much here. Their professors, they want their students to do well.
Right.
Okay, so no professor here they are all eager to see that you do well.
Right.
So that is it. So that is it.
Okay. All right. All right. I like the part when you talked about, in class everybody must talk. That's it.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
it's more of conversational as against a lecture method, whereby the lecturer will come and stand in front and then just give out the information. you know. And I also like the fact that the classes are quite manageable. We don't have a large
Hmm.
number of students in the classroom, so I also like that. All right, my last question would be, I think you've even touched some of it. So what would be your advice to prospective international students who also want to have experience and exposure that you have now?
Okay. First, you must know your why do you want to come here?
Okay,
Okay. Why do you want to come here? Do
okay,
you want to come here because you have seen that you need to improve yourself academically,
okay,
or you are just coming here because you are looking for a means to leave your country?
okay,
And then, secondly, you should be able to look for schools that you think could support your intended course. Like I applied in two schools, and these two schools that I applied offered me admission. But I chose UNC Greensboro because UNCG, that's UNC Greensboro,
okay,
offered, I see, some sense of belonging here in UNC Greensboro, even though I have not um, finally arrived here. But from the way I have been interacting with either the current students and some professors and the IPC, that's the International Student Center,
okay.
so yeah, so my interaction with them has actually given me that kind of mindset that these people are so receptive and all the rest of it. So you should be able to do a preliminary study about the program, the
Okay,
school, and then make sure you have all your documents. Your
okay,
document that ranges from your international passport, you must ensure that your international passport has not expired, or even if it should expire, it shouldn't be uh it should expire maybe not within 6 months though from your application time. And then again, you should be able to prepare the of course the money involved, like the application fee. If it is schools that some schools don't accept application fee, while some schools do. And then if it is school that require you to write some kind of external exams like all this TOEFL, some kind of test, so you should also prepare in that regard. If some schools don't accept that too, and then some schools accept this international evaluation, so you must also prepare those documents in line with that, where you send in your transcript to be evaluated by the international body. So you
okay.
also get that situated, and then of course when you have been admitted, the other layer is the interview. The interview, sometimes we prepare more for the admission, forgetting that the interview is another serious part. Now, there's no how you apply in 10 schools, 15 schools, 20 schools, that you will not be accepted in two or three schools.
Okay.
But as you are preparing for your admission process, you must also prepare for your interview process. That's another layer to it, so where you pay your service fee, you pay your visa fee, and then you prepare for your interview. Now, note this. some people used to have this mindset that before you get to the embassy, have already determined whoever they want to give admission, whoever they want to offer the visa before you even arrive there. That's just a mere assumption. It may not be 100% true. So sometimes we just go there without preparing ourselves, and then of course when we didn't get the what they call it, the visa, we tend to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
aggressive or begin to say negative things. So you go prepared.
Okay.
You do thorough study. And then this mindset of saying that this particular VO doesn't accept people, this and that. When it was my turn, I never had that mindset. Even though Lagos happens to be a dreaded place where most people don't want to go to, but I was very confident because I know that I have already prepared, and so the basic questions that they may probably ask, I will have, even though I may not have 100% answer to it, but at least I should have a preliminary, answer to some of the questions that they will ask. So I went prepared. I didn't
Right.
just wake up from my house and say I'm going to be interviewed. I prepared. I went through series of mock sessions, and I was well prepared. So you must get yourself prepared, and
Okay.
then once you are done with your interview, and then you have been offered your the visa, then the next thing is to start thinking of how to book your flights. And of course, you try to make some connections in your school. Probably you may have some Africans who are also students in that very place. You just look at the school website. So many informations. They have so many information. You can look at the international body in the school, reach out, send an email to them that, hey, I've been admitted into this school. I have my visa. I will be coming, and then I will arrive so and so time. I don't know if there's any kind of support system that is there. Like here in our school, we have a lot of support system where even the IPC can even come pick you up at the airport, and
Okay.
they may also direct you to similar people who come from the same culture, people who come from the same area with you. So sometimes they provide such kind of resources too. So you'll be able to don't just assume that I've been accepted. Now let me just go grab my stuff and then go back to school. So you must make plans. And then while preparing, when coming, you should also know some certain things that you should bring along and some things that you don't bring along. So don't go carry everything from your village and say, okay, I'm traveling, so let me carry everything in my head and start coming to the US. So know some certain things that you need to bring, and know those things that you don't need to bring. So these are some of the things that you need. And then whenever you come here, you must experience some cultural shocks.
Okay.
Okay, like some of the things that you experience when you arrive here during summer, you see people dressing somehow. You be like, "This is not how
Yeah.
this is not the kind of
Yeah.
culture where I came from." But you
Mm.
must. Somebody told me that just do as if you are not seeing anything. Of course, that is you just do as if you are not seeing anything and
Right. Right.
walk
Right.
past. These are the things that you must also prepare yourself for. And lastly, you must keep touch with your home. That's your hometown, your
Right.
family members. So you must keep relating with them. Like myself, I relate with my family members often so that they don't feel the void. I also don't feel the void from them.
Mm.
Just imagine you coming over here, you don't talk to anybody back home. They will be so worried about you.
Right.
These are some of the things that you need to understand and know why you are here. Whenever you come here, of course, you may have so many things. So many people have different reasons why they are here. You must know why you are here. And if you are here for academics, you also concentrate in the academics. Note that if you are here for an illegal stuff, definitely, if you are not caught now, you may be caught someday. And when you are caught someday, it will become so disastrous. And all your effort that you have put in, all the things that you have, the nights that you have deprived yourself, the leisure and everything that you have deprived yourself, all will just be of a
Right.
great waste. So you know why you are here and concentrate why you are here. That is all the advice I will give.
Thank you, Mr. Chibor, for
Thank
sharing
you,
your
Richmond, for having
experiences
me.
with us. And I hope it
Thank
will
you.
help a lot of people, to figure out a plan of action regarding
Mm-hmm,
staying abroad.
mm-hmm.
Well, viewers, if you are listening or watching this podcast, please share, like, and comment for others to also get the information. Until we meet again, my name is Richmond Inti, and thanks again for watching. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.